Art is the highest form of society.
Yeah.
It's like the most thing that can elevate culture, elevate perspectives and minds. And it's like, call me a conspiracy theorist, but I really feel like that creativity is driven out of children at a young age, because that creativity is the catalyst for change. And I think there are powers that be that don't want that change.
Welcome back to another episode of Women of Tomorrow. If you are new here, thank you so much for stopping on this video. Women of Tomorrow is a platform dedicated to women positioning themselves for longevity. So if you are new here, please take a moment to comment, like, and subscribe. Nadine.
Hi. How's it going?
Good. Thank you so much for coming today.
Thank you for having me.
An opportunity to chat with you. How are you doing? How are you feeling?
I'm good. I got the coffee, chilling. Morning after the festival, we're recentering.
How was the festival? How was your performance? You were kind of telling me about it, but like it was just like insane. You couldn't see anything.
Yeah, so it was so fun. It was like my first soul festival. I've never even attended a soul festival before, so for the first one that I attend to be like one that I'm performing at was very cool. So it was a fun experience. But yeah, definitely on that stage, could not see a single thing. Barely a single person. People were texting me like, "Oh, like we were there for you." I was like, "That's so nice. I didn't see you. Like, thank you for coming." So yeah, but it was fun. I loved it.
As a performer, you kind of just learn to like go with the flow, roll with the punches when things go crazy.
Oh my gosh, it's like you have to just like go with it. Like you can't stop. Like you can't like you just go. You're like, okay, well, hopefully nobody noticed. So yeah. But like considering the fact that we literally arrived like the night before at like 4 a.m. and then had sound check like 10 the next day and barely got a chance to rehearse. My dad flew in actually from Jordan to DJ for me.
Oh wow!
Yeah, because he was like the closest person. He's a DJ.
That's
so
crazy.
Yeah, so we didn't rehearse or anything, but we made it through. It was fun.
Oh, that's exciting. So for anyone who doesn't know, like, what is your professional title? What is it that you do?
So I am a hip hop and neo soul artist. I'm from Sudan, Egypt, and Iran, but I'm based in Boston. And yeah, I just love making tunes for the diaspora blues. Like just telling, I think, our stories as people who are from this region in the Middle East and North Africa, but have, moved overseas, whether it's like UK, USA, whatever. We have like an interesting take on our identity. So that's I play into that with my music.
That's awesome. Tell me about like your identity, because it is a cultural mix. So, and I know that we spoke earlier and you were like, you have kind of like a passion to represent for that mix of culture.
Right.
What is that like for you? Like, what is the actual mix of your culture?
So there's this term like third culture, and it's like closely related to the term of like being diaspora. And it's just this idea of like being, so I'm like Muslim, you know what I mean? I was raised both in America and Virginia is where I initially grew up, and then in Sudan. And so there's this like interesting mix of being westernized, but also having very strong cultural ties, very strong cultural values that you're, raised with your family, knowing both English and Arabic. And then there's some people who will know like English, Arabic, and French, for example, depending on like, where in the region you're from. Yeah. So it's like it gives you a unique take on life. You're just like, you kind of get the best of both worlds. But it can also sometimes lead to an identity crisis. For sure.
And have you experienced the identity crisis?
Absolutely. There's like, you kind of feel like you're not enough for either place. Like in Sudan, I was always like too westernized. Like, oh, your accent is a little too American. Like your culture is like, how come you know all these like American songs and like shows, but like you don't really know the Sudanese ones? And there are people who have like a good mix of both. But I was definitely one of those people who like, from growing up in America, had that. But then when you're overseas, like there's this, you kind of grow up with this like feeling of community, and I feel like in the West it's like a more individualistic culture, you know what I mean? Yeah. So it's like, it's an interesting two sides of a coin.
Yeah. Which do you prefer?
Ooh, I'm gonna say I definitely I am so proud to be where I'm from, and I love our culture. I love the values that we hold.
Yeah.
And that's why I love making music tied to that, because I feel like sharing those values with, and, you know, ideas, perspectives with people who are not familiar with them is a beautiful thing. So, yeah.
Yeah, yes, Sudan.
Sure. Yes. Yeah, low-key.
How did you end up in Boston? Was that like the first stop, or like, take me kind of through, like, you were born where, and then you, like, where did you go?
So I was born in Sudan, lived there for a year, moved to Virginia with my family.
Okay.
Lived there till I was 10, back to Sudan till I was like 18.
Nice.
And I did my undergrad in like Maastricht in the Netherlands, and then back to Sudan, my master's in the UK. I was in Jordan for a bit, Egypt, and then one of my best friends from high school from Sudan is like working in Boston as a radiologist, and she's like been begging me to move in with her for like ages. And I wanted to move to America for music anyway. I just felt like there would be more opportunities, so that's how I ended up there.
And do you like Boston? I was gonna ask because
I don't know if anyone's from Boston, no disrespect. Don't want to be rude, but it's just like not my vibe.
Yeah. How long have you been there so far?
Like a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And is it looking like you're gonna make a transition, or?
100%. It's like, it's definitely a stepping stone. But to be very fair, I feel like everything in life is a stepping stone. You know what I'm saying? Like, wherever you end up, you're not ever going to be there permanent.
Yeah.
I feel.
Yeah. What is the dynamic in Boston, especially because from what I've just heard, just from people who live there, that it is kind of closed-minded a little bit. Like the people, like they're just not used to like the variety of culture and race like that there.
That's literally what it is, and that's, I think, like my problem with it, which sucks because there are great artists who come from Boston. Like there's Aziz, who's like a producer, and Bia, you know, is from there. So there's definitely like cool things coming out of Boston, but I do feel like, especially for like more upcoming independent artists, there's not much of a platform to be seen or heard, and not the most open-minded from my personal experience.
And so like being there, you basically had already started before you got to Boston.
Yeah.
So it's not like you had to use Boston as a launching pad.
Exactly, facts.
How were you when you got started, like, with music? Like, when you decided, like, I'm gonna do music. Was it, like, super early?
I mean, so I've always loved music and, like, have been singing my whole life, but I specifically got into hip-hop, like, very recently. And like, you know, in the hip hop community, if you haven't been rapping for that long, they're like, listen, like, respect the fact that you haven't been rapping for that long, which I do.
Yeah.
And I started in like 2019, you know what I mean? So like, I'm new to it, but it's like just something that I love doing so much, and I love hip hop culture, and I love like rap as an art form. So I started in like 2019, kind of releasing stuff, and then I think started taking my career as an independent artist more seriously in like 2021, 2022.
Okay.
So yeah, it's been a blessing of a journey.
Yeah. I know. I was gonna tap on that because I know like hip hop culture, they can be kind of like exclusive. Like they're just like, who are you?
Facts.
Where did you come from?
Yeah.
Do you know every single person that ever raps?
I literally like it's like if you're wearing like, you know, a t-shirt with like a band, like what are their top 5 songs? You know what I mean? And it's like so intense, but you know what? Like I respect it. I really do. Like obviously I think gatekeeping anything is like how then do you include people and help the culture grow? And like that's where my perspective is like more of an Arab oriented artist comes in with that. But I do respect like that they make you stand on business, that they're a little like you gotta earn the respect. I think that's what it's about. So I respect it. It's chill. Yeah.
So who are your? Because I've listened to some of your songs. I got a chance to get into the vibe, and one of the 2 that stood out were just Honey Butter, which is such a vibe. Who are your influences for your sound?
So I love Erykah Badu. Like I love that kind of neo soul vibe. I also, Lauryn Hill is like a huge inspiration as well with the singing, and because I love both singing and rapping. So she's like the person, I think, when it comes to that. So she's been a huge inspiration. And then like more recent ones as well, like Kendrick Lamar. I think the way that he just incorporates consciousness in his music, but also makes it so listenable and just like so, just like relevant. You can still vibe to it without thinking too hard.
No,
you know
I
what
agree.
I mean?
Yes.
Which I love. I'm like, that's dope. So
I'm like, sometimes I'm listening, I'm like, what did they say? It's like I gotta listen to it about 5 or 6 times.
But then you also, if you don't really want to pay attention, you're like, I can still vibe to this, you know?
Yeah.
So it's very cool.
We don't want to get too deep.
Yeah, facts.
The comparisons. You've been compared to Lana Del Rey. And what is it like being compared? Because I remember her first coming out. I feel like it was like 2010 or something like that.
2011, right? When she first blew up.
It was. I loved it. I loved her sound. What is it like with comparisons? Do you welcome the comparisons, or is it just like, oh, I hate to be like being compared? Because
Right.
sometimes as an artist, when it's like you work so hard to have your own identity, and then being compared, it's like people can't help but to compare.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about the comparisons?
Honestly, like I'm not mad at it. Like I can definitely be flattered, especially when I see the influence myself, because she was one of my favorite artists for so long. So I hear that, and I think as well when you're a newer artist and you're kind of like discovering your own sound, then the comparisons are going to come because you're also just incorporating all your influences as well until you kind of like they mesh together and it becomes you. And I think it's like so standard. Like even when Billie Eilish, who was like huge, came out, everyone was like, oh, like the new Lana Del Rey, and it's like I think people just in general tend to categorize. That's how our brains work and function. Yeah. So I'm not mad at it, but it definitely does inspire me to work harder to create that unique sound where it's like, actually, I don't sound like anyone else. So we'll get there.
I don't think you sound like anyone else from what I've just like had a brief, experience with.
I feel so too. I feel like I got my own thing, but people will catch on when they catch on.
Timing is everything. What is it like in the studio when you're creating? I feel like just like always loving music, you probably already just like have these instincts when you hear a track or something like that. But what is your process like? Are you a songwriter yourself, or how does that work for you?
So I write all my own stuff, which I love doing. I love writing first and foremost. It's such a fun process. Like being in the studio writing, even if I'm not in the studio, I'm just like with a beat or like, you know what I mean, a musician by myself, and we're just like working on stuff. It's like the most fun thing, and my favorite part is to like catch that vibe and that inspiration of like, what is this beat making me feel? Like, what do I want to talk about right now? And it's like usually what I'll do is I'll hear something, and either I already have a concept in mind, or I already have like one bar where I'm like, I kind of want to play off of that. Or I'll sit and I'll have nothing. I'm like, I just want to do something. And I'll sit and like listen, and like any artist can probably tell you that like the beat will quote unquote like speak to them, and like you channel what you hear and feel through that beat. So it's fun.
That's how the process goes.
Yes.
And are you like one of those people that is like everyone out the studio, or everyone like, do you need to create in solitude?
I mean, when collaborating, I definitely love like the kind of back and forth of ideas, but I then need a moment where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go into a corner now and just like zone in. I'm the kind, I'm like, so there are some artists who like, they love everyone being in the studio. They love like feeding off that energy. I'm the opposite. I'm like, I'm here to work. Like, don't talk to me.
You want to get focused.
Yeah,
I'm
like,
to it.
And like when there's too many people in the studio and they're like talking over when like the engineer is trying to like fix some stuff, I'm like, no, y'all need to get out. You know, like I'm just, I don't know, that's just me. I'm like, because I do take it seriously, and I think like there's definitely a time for fun. And if I'm like working on something more fun, I love when there's a lot of people there to like hype it up. But usually I just like to zone in.
No, I feel that. So that you can just like make sure you have like the pure essence of
and no
what
distractions.
You wanted to. And something that stood out to me in I think it was Honey Butter, and you were saying what chasing the money is not for the weak, and so it stood out to me because with Women of Tomorrow and backstory, I started in music. 17, I was an artist. I was signed to Warner Brothers, and I was a writer and all that stuff. It just wasn't for me. Like I love music. My family was a music family, but I think the politics of it, it's just like, for me, it's like, I feel like as an artist, you have to absolutely love what you're doing to make it through. Like you have to kind of be obsessed with it, because there are so many things that will try to like pull you down. And with Women of Tomorrow, I always like want to champion the idea of it not just being about the money when it comes to our success and just being fulfilled. It's hard when you get to the money and then you realize that it still wasn't enough. And so that line stood out to me. Like what specifically have you maybe experienced that inspired that line?
I think like for me, that line was more inspired by the fact, like, first of all, I 100% agree with you. Like, I think to do this, you have to love it, because you're going to get so many no's. There's like so many barriers, obstacles. I think for anybody in the industry, and then on top of that, especially for women, and then on top of that, especially for like colored women or like, women from certain backgrounds. And so you do have to love it. But that line was inspired by the fact that because the industry is so messy, and especially as an independent artist, like, you're not necessarily making a lot of money from music at certain stages. You know what I mean? So it's like doing what you love, but also what you have to sacrifice to make that happen. So like a lot of people are creatives and are also working day jobs or like working, server jobs or whatever it is to like, they're hustling basically on the side, doing whatever they have to do to be able to invest in their dream. And it's not for the weak. Like, it's hard work, and it's like, it takes determination and perseverance and like being like, okay, I'm so tired, but I have goals. You know what I mean? And like just doing your best to fulfill them.
Those goals.
Yeah.
Is there ever a breaking point for you when you're like, I'm tired and the rest is more important than accomplishing this tonight? Like, do you ever feel like I need to prioritize like my physical health at the moment?
I've gotten better with that, which is amazing, because I think like I definitely suffered from burnout before, where I was like, okay, work, and then your body decides for you, like, that's enough, you know what I mean? And then you get sick, or like you just knock out for a few days. But I've been trying to like incorporate rest into my schedule, or like at least if I do burn out, be more gracious with myself of like, okay, you know what, you've been doing a lot. And I'm the kind of person where like and this is so bad, but I definitely measure my worth by my productivity. So like if I haven't, like, I will list out everything that I've done, and if I haven't done like enough that week, I'm like, I failed, you know what I mean? But I've been trying to get better at like being like, okay, this was like super, you got that out of the way, great week, great day, you deserve to like watch a show tonight instead of like, you know what I mean? Which is so important, I feel like. And I think like people, again, like in the West especially, there's this like hustle culture of like, if you're not up at 5 a.m. grinding 24/7, like you can't be successful. And it's like, but no, like it's balance. Like everything in life is balance, you know what I mean? And I think as well, like with women, we are told that we have to prove ourselves by being the hardest working person in the room. But it's like, rest is also part of that work. If you can't
rest is work too.
If you can't decompress and recenter and like find that space in yourself, you're like, okay, now I have the energy to do more. Then it's short-lived. You know what I mean?
Your experience to the West versus the East early on, when did you kind of notice like the difference of the pace of the lifestyle? Was it at a young age, or was it when you actually started getting into music?
Oh my God, there's such a difference in the pace of lifestyle. Like, it's so funny in our culture, like rest and taking a break is literally like, it's in the day. And actually, you know what's so beautiful as well is like taking a pause in your day is actually ingrained in our religion. When you pray 5 times a day, that's Allah or God literally like saying, okay, stop whatever you're doing, come back to you, come back to like your center, and then continue. And I think that's so beautiful that like literally in our culture, in our religion, this capitalistic lifestyle of go doesn't exist. It's almost forbidden, if you're like practicing Muslim and you pray 5 times a day. And that's like so important. My bad, what was the question again?
Just basically like when did you kind of notice that there was such a difference? So growing up in Sudan and seeing how like
even in the month of Ramadan, when like everyone's fasting, you literally, the work schedule changes. You come into work later, you can leave earlier, you know what I mean? And there's such a respect for people taking a break, taking time off to pray. And while that's beautiful for rest and the self, it also definitely kind of impacts productivity. Yeah. So it's interesting to see like, okay, this is where, again, best of both worlds come in.
Yeah.
And you do need that balance. And where I'm from, they take rest a little too seriously. Like, we can also work a little harder.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's that balance, but I noticed that difference very early on.
Very early on.
Absolutely.
Are there people in your life that like do you have a manager, like a music manager, or do you manage yourself? Or
at the moment, I'm kind of self-managed. Like, I definitely have a small team, helping me with things, but I make decisions. I figure out opportunities for myself. So
are there in the team that you do work with, are they pushing that productivity, or do you sometimes feel like, dang, I got people counting on me to like knock this stuff out?
100%. And I love that. Like, I ask the people around me to hold me accountable. I ask them, like, I have this one person who like calls herself my professional nagger. She'll be like, did you get this and this done? And I need that, and I love that, because I feel like as a team you do have to lift each other up and like be like, you know what, rest is important. And we also prioritize rest. Like, if somebody in the team is like, listen, I'm not feeling too well for this meeting today, it's like, okay, yeah, absolutely, you do you. And I as well, with women, I think when we work with each other, we do have that compassion and care for being like, you know what, girl, like, that's cool. Like, you take the day, we got this, we'll cover you. Yeah. And then you kind of pick up each other's slack. But we definitely hold each other accountable, and productivity is also very important, because we need to get stuff done at the end of the day. You have to
get stuff done. You do need to set goals.
Exactly.
Short term, long term, and that kind of thing. And speaking of women specifically, like, we do have that compassion. We do care about the person versus just like, let's get out here and get this done. Right. In your culture, in Sudan, and what is it? Is the woman viewed the same in your culture versus like the States?
Like, in terms of
like what a woman is expected to do, to be, to how she's supposed to move. Like,
gosh,
is it different?
So different.
Okay.
I mean, I think that in our culture, and this is unfortunate, and this does not pertain to Islam, because I feel like Islam, when performed correctly as the Prophet, peace be upon him, intended, women are highly revered and highly respected, and like they're the pinnacle of society. Like, everything revolves around making them feel safe, and like they have a lot of power in that sense. But unfortunately, over time, I think that was kind of diluted, and now the culture is actually very heavily patriarchal. Where I'm from, I wouldn't say in a way more so than the West, because I think the West can be very patriarchal and oppressive of women in its own way. Yeah. But like, and where I'm from, it's like definitely our bodies are policed very heavily. Okay. Being, a female hip hop artist who's like very comfortable being on camera, like very comfortable with wearing what I wear. Yeah. There's been comments from like, the men of my culture being like, how dare you, like, you're ashamed to your family's name, like your father would be disgusted by you, like all like very like ugly comments, because where I'm from, like, for a woman to be vocal, to be singing, rapping even, is like so unheard of. Like, actually in Sudan, it's like considered, you're like entertainers are considered like almost the lowest part of society. Wow. Like, you entertain, like that's nothing. That's like, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's degrading almost. Yeah. Thankfully, and this is coming now out of like all the incredible women from the region who are pursuing art regardless, that's now changing and shifting. I think it'll take time before we're really bold enough to be like, nobody cares what you think. Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely, there's a huge difference.
It's still kind of stuck.
Yes,
stuck
absolutely.
In that space. And so you got away from that.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to. You just have to like be like, you know what, like, this is what I love doing. No one's gonna tell me otherwise.
However, it does take it does take strength, you know, to come away from maybe what you're used to or how you were raised or what maybe your family believes. Is your family supportive?
That's a really good question. My dad is very supportive.
Oh,
He's
wow.
a DJ, and he
Yeah.
loves music. Like, oh my gosh, his record collection is insane. I literally, like, there's pictures of me growing up, and like, he's DJing like right next to me.
Oh,
Yeah, so he's like, and he was DJing at my show yesterday. Actually, he was my DJ. So he's very, very, very supportive. My mom, who's a little more conservative, has a harder time with it, just because she does. Well, and I think she has issues with the language in my music, but I feel like a lot of parents probably do with their kids, you know what I mean?
And so has that been like a challenge for you? Just like when you're out there, okay, I know at least my dad is, you know, supportive, but then like your mom just being like, okay, girl.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Okay.
So she's not necessarily like going against it, but she's just not like the biggest cheerleader.
Yes, exactly. Like she'll be, you know, proud of my milestones for me and happy for me, but it's always like, when are you gonna get a real job? Like, when are you?
Wow.
Yeah, 100%. And like, I get it, and we used to be very much at odds about it, but now I think as I've grown older, I respect, as a mother, she only wants the best for her child, and I think we've come to a mature understanding of agreeing to disagree. And I don't really involve. And my dad actually was saying, he was like, why didn't you invite your mom to the show and stuff? And I was like, because I know she's not going to like it. Like, I know she's not going to like seeing me up there in my outfit, like dancing, saying the things that I'm saying. And like, why subject her to something that I know she's not into?
Yeah.
When I don't want to hear the criticism either.
Like,
you
this
know
is
what
a moment for you.
Exactly. So there's a respect there where we just like, it's not in our relationship anymore. And if she does bring it up, I'm like, Mom, we've talked about this. You know what I mean? So, but it's cool. I love her. She's the best.
Okay, that's great, because I think even for me, like, when I started, I was young, and then my mom was just like, school.
Right, yeah.
And I just knew early on, like, I'm not a school person. I have to create. Like,
be hands-on. Like, not just sit there in a class. And I feel like, that takes the spirit out of you.
It really does. I don't think that's talked about enough. And I'm so glad that in the region now that music and entertainment and arts are being amplified, you guys are building the industry, because I feel like regardless if you choose a career in arts, music, whatever, having that influence is so important. Like, music is like the language of the world.
Absolutely.
And it heals and it inspires. It connects us in ways that we otherwise wouldn't be connected. So I feel like it's sad that it's looked at like that, but it kind of, when you said that it's looked at as the lowest form of human, it reminds me of just kind of like some of the movies that I've seen when it comes to like slavery, and, you know, African slavery, with like specifically when they came over and they became slaves, it was like they were like to entertain, they were to dance and to, you know, be the people that just made you laugh or whatever. But that was like all that they were considered good for, you know. And it's just like, wow, I feel like entertainment music is magic.
Absolutely
Magic.
I think it's like, in my opinion, art is the highest form of society. It's like the most thing that can elevate culture, elevate perspectives and minds. And it's like, call me a conspiracy theorist, but I really feel like that creativity is driven out of children at a young age, because that creativity is a catalyst for change. And I think there are powers that be that don't want that change. They don't want to see people thinking for themselves. And creation is powerful. You feel powerful as a person. Like, I can make change. I can make something that inspires people and moves people. It's a gift. It really is. And I deeply believe everyone is born with that gift. And there are certain voices and criticisms and like systems of education that make you feel like you're not entitled to it. But it's given to everyone. And I think no matter what stage you're at in life, if you tap into it in any medium, any form, you heal yourself, and then that then turns into healing the collective. I truly believe that.
No, absolutely. It's the most beautiful thing. It made me think of also, I was watching an interview. There's this guy that I follow on social media. His name is Yaki Awakened. And he he's basically a biochemist, but he changed his life. Like he used to be like a drug dealer. He used to like take drugs, and at 21 he had like a heart attack, and he basically from then started like researching like healing himself, and he found Dr. Sebi and Dr. Africa and like all these like holistic healers that use herbs and stuff like that. And the interview that I saw recently was just talking about the boom of pharmaceutical drugs, and so stopping from the natural healing, the herbs and stuff like that, and then going to like the synthetic petroleum-based drugs. And Rockefeller was the head of that in this country, and one of the quotes that he said was, I want a nation of workers. And so when you say conspiracy theories, I think that that's just something that's thrown out there to like negate the truth.
Like, is it a theory if it's true? Like there's receipts online of like people who come from certain families saying certain things and backing certain movements where it's like you want people to be, you want to subjugate them and oppress them, and you want to keep them at a certain intellectual level and a certain like level of like being in the workforce where it's like, because then you keep the power, you keep the money, and you exploit these people. But it's like, that's why creativity and art is so important. So important. Because it immediately, art is resistance. You know what I mean? And like, especially, you know,
because you're creating what's not there.
Exactly. And like, you're also saying like, I can do that, and I will, and like, and people will listen to it. It's powerful.
Yeah, it's
love.
Powerful.
I love that you said that. Like, yes, that's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah. So when it comes down to, you know, getting dressed and creating your image and having all of these different mixes of culture and inspirations and voices in your head, what do you do when you're putting together like your looks? Like, are you still try to be conservative to a certain, like, is that still ingrained in you, or is it more just like, I like to, you know what is
to express myself? I mean, so with it being conservative, I definitely have it in mind sometimes, because I am mindful of like my audience, and I'm also mindful of what my mom can find on the internet. So I'm like, let me not be too crazy. But I'm also like, I really stand on, as a woman, being like owning your body and like not allowing anyone to police it. Like, whatever you're comfortable in, as long as you're not doing something that makes you uncomfortable because you feel like you need a certain kind of attention, or you know what I mean? Like, as long as you're doing it for you and it makes you feel sexy, confident, whatever, because of you, regardless of who's watching, then beautiful. You know what I mean? But like, then of course there's things like the male gaze and dressing for the male gaze. And like, so I just try to do what's best for me, but 100% also, especially recently, I've found a lot of like pleasure and like, it's so dope to be able to represent like local brands. So I'm like also really, so even now I'm like, this hoodie is like Precious Trust, which is like a South African brand.
Nice.
The skirt is BND, which is like an Egyptian brand. And it's so fun to be able to put stuff together that's like repping the culture. And I think as well, like in terms of representation, it's important to elevate the people around you, you know what I mean, from the culture, and make sure that everyone is succeeding in different industries.
Have you noticed that, because me coming here, this is my first time in the region, and you know, I've been heavily in, like, I would say the industry since I was 17, and it is like, I don't even know what life is like outside of the music industry, so to speak. A lot of my friends and business partners and all that have all come from that. And I will say that it is not, there's a lot of gatekeeping. There's a lot of cliques. There's like, it's not easy to navigate. But coming here, I'm just like, everyone's so like open and passionate and willing to collaborate. Just like even you coming here to, you know, be with us today, it's like, wow, I'm like so happy that you were like, you know, you're popping, and I'm like, you're coming to see, you know, Women of Tomorrow. And it was just like such a natural flow for this to happen. Is there a big difference, you think, from like this area of the world and then being like in the States that you've noticed, like it's a little bit different. Like, it's not as easy to collab.
Well, first of all, the honor is mine being here. Like, I love what you guys do, genuinely. When I heard about it at the talk, I was like, I want to be a part of this in some way, because I'm like all for women, and I think the future is feminine leadership. So that's
in the forefront, because I feel like we've been leading from behind.
Facts. I'm saying exactly 100%. But yeah, I think honestly, it's always going to depend on the people. I've had beautiful experiences in Egypt, like collaborating with people. There's a producer who I worked very closely with. His name is Kubalra, and he's so talented and has like been so generous and giving with his skills, with his time, with his ideas, and so that was like beautiful. And there's a lot of that in the region. But I'm not going to lie and say like we don't have like cliques and like that. I think that really is anywhere, and I think it's less about the culture and more about just the kind of people that you encounter. There's always going to be beautiful, open-minded people who want to come together and, you know, are driven by community. And then there's people who are like, you know what, there's not enough space for all of us, and I want to get there first, which I think everyone can eat, you know what I mean? So it depends.
It really depends. So you're saying kind of just like, you can't get too like jaded by a bad experience.
Exactly.
And keep yourself open.
Facts.
Yeah, how have you done that? Like, as I know artists, I think we're sensitive.
Yeah, I'm an artist and I'm sensitive about my shit.
Exactly. Like, we can be sensitive, and then even that can just kind of go into like the different personalities that we're dealing with. How have you remained just like open to just even working with different people, knowing that there have been like people that have said no and not seeing you for, you know, who you are?
You know, that's so interesting. I feel like it's so important to protect your energy, but I think being too guarded then closes you off from beautiful experiences, you know what I mean? So it's like, and I've definitely learned that I can maybe be a bit too open. And it's like to the point where like, okay, and it's a learning curve. Like, okay, with this person, maybe I gave too much of my time. Maybe I shared too much of my ideas, and they came in and they changed a bit too much, and I need to be more. But it's like every single experience, I'm like, okay, I learned that, but that doesn't mean that I'm gonna overcompensate and like be too closed off. And it's just like, it's a balance. And I think the biggest part of it is just like being in tune with yourself. Being intuitive of like reading people, reading situations, and also grace with yourself and knowing that you're not always going to get it right. And that's okay. And then it's part of the learning experience.
So the grace is a big part. Just being like, okay, that happened. It's okay.
Yeah, exactly. We're
moving forward. What is do you have like a daily practice or ritual that brings you back, like that centers you and allows you to like self-reflect and like tap back in with, you know, Nadine and, you know, figure it out?
I definitely like recently started this, and I, you know, fall off every now and then, but every morning I definitely have like a page of just gratitude where I'm just like, and the first line is always like, dear God, thank you for waking me up today, because I understand that you could have chosen not to. You know what I mean? Is like, I literally could have died in my sleep. Anything, like, also thank you for waking up my friends and family today, because you could have chosen not to. You know what I mean? So it's like understanding that we can't take anything in life for granted. And that gratitude is like something that centers me a lot. And even like in Islam, like alhamdulillah, alhamd, which is like gratitude for Allah, God, is something that's so ingrained in our everyday language. You know what I mean? I'm around people who, even when something bad happens to them, they'll tell me about it, and at the end of it, they'll be like, alhamdulillah. Like, it could have been worse. Anything else could have happened.
Does that mean God is good?
Sorry?
Does that mean God is good?
Alhamdulillah is like, thank you, God. God is good is like Allah Akbar. God is like great. Okay. But like very similar sentiments of just like gratitude for, you know, the universe, Allah, whatever you believe in, for keeping your heart beating, for keeping your legs walking. There's so much to be grateful for. And then especially like what grounds me as well as seeing the suffering in our region, you know, with like Sudan, my country, going through war, with what's happening in Palestine, is like, there are people who are going through so much, and you see how strong their faith is. That's like, how can I not have faith? How can I not know that there's something bigger out there holding us all down, and then be bogged down by like the little stuff, sweat the small stuff? Like, there's no point. So that's what keeps me grounded. Gratitude.
That's it. Gratitude is so
it's
beautiful.
Huge.
Speaking of that, I saw on your Instagram that you did like you made a post of like the numbers, and it like went viral, and people are just like, yeah. They're like reposting it, and you're basically speaking out about the numbers of injustice that's happening with people around the globe. Was that, I know that so often, like with people in the public figures, whether it be athletes, musicians, you know, you'll speak out, and sometimes you'll get ridiculed for speaking out because it's like, oh, just sing, or oh, just dance, or oh, just play ball. And I think back like in the 50s and 60s, there was a lot more respect given to people who spoke out. But it just kind of makes it like, maybe to me, I would seem like it would be like kind of challenging to like put your voice out there like that. Did you feel that way in any sense, or when you decided to like make this post and it be so significant?
Honestly, when I made the post, I genuinely, in my heart of hearts, did not think it would go past the people who already look at my page. You know what I mean? I know a couple people did that. Like I saw like one post on social media, which was like very similar, and I kind of just put my own spin on it. And it's like a lot of people had that really cool idea of like, you know, Spotify Wrapped is here, and that's cute, but like there's a lot more happening in the world, and these are the numbers that we should really be caring about. And for me, it was just about putting things in perspective of like, there's so much going on, and I believe as artists for sure, but as humans, and I think this is what people forget. People think that you need to be an activist to care about something and to speak out on it. It's like, no, like you need to just be human to care. You know what I mean? And it's hard to speak out, and I respect that. I respect that people are scared of losing a job. They're scared of what their family might think or what their friends might think, but we have to normalize it. I think talking about things like religion and politics and day-to-day conversation is so taboo. You know, people say, just keep it to the weather, keep it safe. But it's like, if we don't normalize having those conversations, when we end up having to have those conversations, the language around it becomes so much more aggressive, and there's so much more doubt, and we're not on the same page about things because we haven't started at the foundation. So I think, and there's also so much misinformation and propaganda out there, and I think talking about it allows for people to be like, oh wait, you know, actually I didn't know that, and maybe I had the wrong idea from some random post that I saw that was like misinformed. But speaking out is a way to show people it's okay to be not okay with injustice, you know, and they make you feel like, again, talking about the powers that be, they want to make you feel like it's not okay. They keep you subjugated, but like resistance is like love. It's like also speaking out with anger with what's happening, but also with love of like, let's show compassion for each other. You know what I mean? It could have been any of us.
It really can. And often people, we all don't, nothing hits us till it hits us. Till it hits us like personally. It's like almost like it doesn't exist, but we are in a society where it's like, don't talk about that.
Facts.
That's not you, that's not them.
It's not your fight, it's not your business, but it's like, and especially like, I've seen so much discourse online, and there's, you know, a lot of people like the Black community in America who are very much for like speaking out against things because they understand that oppression. And then there's also people who are like, not our fight, we have our own stuff to deal with. But I really deeply believe that oppression everywhere is like interlinked. You know what I mean? And it's like, no one's free until we're all free, basically.
I know that the Black people in America often talk about like, dang, like we're fighting so hard for these other people and no one is fighting for us. And so I think that is a big thing that
I've
comes
seen that
up.
as well.
It's just like, often, you know, there's always like this, this outreach or changes that are made for other races in America. And there's like these safety, these precautions that, you know, are built around like the Asian community or the Jewish community or things like that. But then it's just like, no, we're still here just like, you know, figuring it out.
Which is so horrible because it's like, again, it's like them putting different races on a hierarchy, but it's like we're still all under the same system. And like, it's hard to speak out for, there's so much happening. Well, of course it's hard to speak out for every single person, every single tragedy, but like, I think just acknowledging that there is a system that keeps certain people of different backgrounds, colors, religions, whatever, oppressed. Just acknowledging that is like, okay, let's all come together.
Let's all come together.
You know what I mean? And fight that.
Yeah, and that's so tricky because it's like at the same time of everyone or different people being oppressed, they're also creating so much division between the groups.
Which is crazy. Like, we have this in Sudan as well, with a lot of colorism. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
which is like insane, because a lot of us have internalized the, how would you call it? Internalized racism.
Yeah.
Even amongst our own people, you know what I mean? Which is like so sad.
It's so sad, and I'm glad you brought that up because it's not something that I even like to speak about, but I've talked to my friends, like, I don't even look really too much at the news. Like, I honestly I do my own research to see, like, from sources that I feel like I can trust, and who knows. But the way that I guess Black men, especially darker skinned Black men in America, the way they've been kind of just like, their image has been like weaponized. Yeah. I often, even if I'm like somewhere alone and I see two like young Black guys who might look like, you know, they might look like hip hop, you know, that like, I love them, but I'm also like, I'll be honest, I'm like, like, are they gonna like be aggressive with me? Or are they gonna, and it breaks my heart to even feel that way, but it's just like, there's so many negative images that you just don't know, like, okay, is that same person, or are they so conditioned to feel like that's how they're gonna be viewed that they start internalizing it themselves? I know they're not gonna see me for who I am, so let me just go ahead and be a thief. Let me go ahead and just like holler at her aggressively. So there's so much of this like psychological, emotional stuff that's happening.
Absolutely.
And not having the support to even claim that your true identity, because it's like, you know, even my partner growing up in Philadelphia, you know, his teachers growing up told him, you ain't gonna be nothing. You're either gonna be in jail, dead, or a bus driver.
Oh my God, that's crazy. That's crazy.
That's what's being told to children by their teachers. So imagine how many people don't push past that and just say, okay, I guess I'll be dead in a couple of years. It's crazy.
It's like, we're all, and like you said, it's tricky because it's very easy on paper to be like, oh, let's all love each other and work together. But there's so many, we've all been prejudiced and conditioned from young in different ways. And like, there's no way that's not going to affect you growing up as an adult, affect your perception of yourself, your perception of people. And I love that you talked about it. I know you said you don't like to, but I love that you did, because the only way we can get past those things is if we talk about it. Like, look, why do we feel that way? Why do you feel that way? Like, without judging the feeling, without judging the perception, where did it come from? And how can we stop it at the, like, nip it in the bud? You feel me?
Yeah. These conversations are super, super important. On a lighter note. On a lighter note, so starting 2019 of really just saying like, okay, I'm creating my own sound. I'm merging hip hop and neo soul. You have fans now.
A community, like a very beautiful community.
Is that what? Do you have like name for your community? Like,
I call them friends. I'm like, hi, friends.
Oh yeah, nice.
It would be cute to have a name. Maybe when it grows a little more and they choose a name for themselves, that'd be very cute. But yeah, it's been a blessing to see the support base grow over the years.
How do you interact with them? Is it like social media, is it a website, or?
So definitely social media is like big. I was actually in the talk in Riyadh, we were talking about like self-promotion with C-Noise, and we were talking about like how to organically build a community. And the biggest thing for me was always like replying to comments, replying to messages, like reaching out to people like, hey, I noticed you shared my post, like I really appreciate your support. And that's like built such a strong connection between me and the people who listen to my music, because it's like, I acknowledge you, like I'm grateful that you connect with my music and that it resonates with you. And I think like it comes back to and I think like artists these days, there's always this thing of like, oh, I need to like be mysterious. And it's like, I'm too cool to interact. Yeah. And it's like, if you're Kanye, that works. If you're Kendrick or Cole, that works. You know what I mean? But like, none of those people started off that way. Yeah. You know, you build that community, and then you earn the right to distance yourself, I feel like. But yeah, engaging with people is very important. And
sometimes you have to distance yourself because you're too famous. And it's like,
and it gets crazy.
They're in my business.
Yeah, facts. And it gets crazy. And it's definitely always about balance. And I think when I first started out, I definitely overextended myself a little bit too much. And now I've learned, I still interact, but I'm like protective of my energy. You know what I mean? So
you would say, is that some advice you would give to like an aspiring artist or just anyone like building their own community? Would it be just like being genuine and just interacting and showing gratitude to the people who have, you know, shown you love?
Absolutely. I think being genuine and interacting, but also not making the mistake that I did, which is being too open and genuine to the point where it's like when you have to distance yourself because it becomes too overwhelming. Weird. People are like, oh, you switched up. Like, you think you're too good now. And it's like, no, I just like, I don't have time. You know what I mean?
What was one of the things that you were doing that you can say now, oh, you had to pull back? Were you just like responding too quickly, or like what was it?
I think it was like feeling like I have to respond to every single and I used to respond to every single message request. Like I would take a day out and like even if it was 100, I would respond to every single person. Wow. I was like, that's crazy. And like responding to every single comment, like which I still try to do, but without it being too like this person. It's more like I acknowledge you all.
What about creating your content, like outside? You have the music that you're creating, but you also have, you know, like the imagery or any type of like cool things that you want to do with your community. Is that all you, or like are you working with like people?
So it's definitely been all me up and like till this point. Like I've always created my own content. I've had help here and there with certain like with some videos maybe, but traditionally it's literally me, my phone, and a tripod, which I love. And I really encourage like any artist to just, you don't need a budget. Like go out, make something for yourself, like have fun with it, be creative. There's so many incredible artists who are doing so much with their content and it's literally just them. Yeah. So it is possible. And like, I think sometimes a lack of resources makes you more creative. So yeah, tapping into that has been fun.
Yeah, just realizing that you are your biggest resource.
Yes,
yeah.
100%.
Yeah. Just to touch back, I meant to ask, are you, because you've like built your community on your own, does it like, and you were just saying that like, you don't want people, some people might be like, oh, you switched up and things like that. Did you ever feel like when you made that, I guess like the post, the post,
the post, the one, yeah.
Did you feel like you're going to get canceled in any way?
That viral one, right?
Yeah.
That's such an interesting question. Because
cancel culture is
so real. I'm scared of getting canceled all the time, bro.
Really?
I'm like, I'm like super mindful of what I say, super mindful of like what I put out there, because it's so easy to misinterpret things and nobody knows your intentions unless they know you know what I mean? And there were definitely comments on that post where people were like, how dare you, like, what do you think you're doing? Like, first of all, these numbers are wrong. Like, so many just like negative comments. And I was like, at the end of the day, I did what I thought was right. And I don't think I was worried about being canceled as much as I was like, I hope this doesn't fall into the hands of Zionists. Which it did anyway, you know what I mean? But yeah, no.
Yeah. And so, speaking of comments and things like that, I was listening, you know, when I was at, I don't know what I was listening to, but somebody was kind of speaking, I think it was Lala and Jay Shetty. Are you familiar with that podcast?
Yeah.
I like that podcast. And she was kind of talking about, and they were both kind of going back and forth on the topic of commentary from like the fans or the followers, and how there can be like a million amazing comments and we always focus on the one negative in it. And I do know that we learn, I feel like psychologically we learn more from pain than we do from, you know, just like
positive reinforcement.
Yeah. And I don't know what that is. Maybe it's the ego that's just like, don't ever let that happen again. Let me just fully like engage with this negativity so that I can learn it and protect myself from it. Do you find that like, are you a comment? Like, are you surfing through the comments and to see what's been said?
I definitely love seeing what's been said, and I'll see the negative comments, and I'm like, you know what, cool, acknowledge. And like, maybe it depends on your mood. Sometimes it'll get to you, but I've really like, because I want this so badly, music, I've conditioned myself from very early on. I'm like, you're going to get it all. You're going to get the worst things. People are going to say the meanest things about you, and you cannot let it affect you. And people are going to say the nicest things about you, and you cannot let it get to your head. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's like two sides of that coin. Like, also all the nice comments, like understanding that you can't live your life based on what other people are saying. Basically.
Yeah. You just really, it's that self identity.
Exactly. Which is hard, of course. Yeah. But like, it's important to be grounded in like who you are. And that's not to say that like I've heard some things where I'm like, it's been helpful actually. Some things are like, okay, maybe I'll change my approach in this. A couple of people have said that. Maybe they have a point. And it's like also knowing what to take and what not to take.
Yeah. No, that's a good one. Just like learning, okay, what can I learn from this versus what just needs to like be dust off my shoulder.
That's a troll. Like,
that's
not
a
even
hater.
Acknowledge that.
Yeah. Looking ahead, what are your next goals and aspirations?
I definitely want to continue exploring my sound for sure, and like experimenting with what I can do. I like, first and foremost, I want to develop the craft and like make sure that that's what I'm focusing on. That's the goal, is to like just get better all the time. And then on like the second goal definitely would be, and I think that happens through mastering the first goal, is expanding the community, getting to a place where like I can live comfortably off music. I'm not like necessarily looking for shows. It's more like opportunities are coming more seamlessly. That's definitely a goal. I try to stay away from like number goals or like milestone goals. Like I've definitely had moments where I'm like, okay, like I want to get a Grammy one day, and like that still feels like, you know, a very like deep dream, but it's also like understanding that I'm already living the dream. You know what I mean? Like I'm already like, this journey that I'm on right now, like all those goals that I have in mind, I'm kind of already fulfilling them.
In them
day by day. You're in it, and I think when you realize that, like, it becomes less of a, oh my God, this huge thing that I have to get to, more of like living in, I'm succeeding every day, and how can I succeed even more every day? That's the goal for the coming years, to embody that.
Yeah, I love that. I feel that way so much in my life, because it's just like, as creatives, like, we're always creating what's next. So once we've created one thing, we're like, okay, what's the next? What's the next thing? But the journey, and that's a big part of like Women of Tomorrow, because it's like longevity. And like, once you get to that goal, have you checked in with yourself? Are you okay? Or did you just say, okay, I need to hit this number. I need to be living here. And then once you're living there, you're lonely because you don't have any friends, because you've isolated them, or your health is bad because you haven't slept for 10 days and those kind of things. So like, being present and tapped in with your journey as it's happening, I think that does allow us to have more gratitude and to realize like, wow, like, no, I'm actually at the studio. I actually just made a song. I actually just released it, and I'm here.
Yeah, I'm doing the damn thing. Like, you know what I mean? And it's like, that's so beautiful. And I feel like as well, just like staying grounded in keeping that in mind, I think that just makes your life more sustainable. And like, speaking on longevity, like you succeed for longer if like you take in every success, every little win, even if it's just getting out of bed that day and like doing the first task of the morning, like that is already a success. Like, that's already goal achieved. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like snowball from there.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's the little things.
Yeah.
It's the little things, all the little things that build the big things. I have one last question. What do you hope that, or what do you want your listeners to take away from your music?
That's a really nice one. I would say, honestly, I think I would hope that they just take away the fact that they can love themselves and where they come from and who they are without conforming to anything else. Just like be you, like whatever that is, be you, be proud in it, and embrace truth, the truth in yourself, the truth in the world. I can only hope that they take that from it, but also everyone's going to take what they take, and I think that's beautiful as well. So whatever you take from it, thanks for listening.
Thanks for listening. No, I love that. I love that. But what I want you to do is just look at that camera and just tell our viewers like where they can find you, how they can tap in with you, and anything you want to leave them with.
Yeah. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And if you want to find my music, I'm on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, all the good things. I'm on Instagram at Nadine El Roubi. And yeah, hope that you join this lovely community that we have. And have a beautiful day.
Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
I'm so happy you came. This was great.